Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Here is another best practice that we are going to share. This best practice is about applying load bars to hold your pallets pretty tightly and prevent them from, tipping over, falling over, right? And given this example before, if you really think about it, right, it's exactly same as when you place a e-commerce order with a website. They ship your product with fully, added dunnage. It's called dunnage. To make sure, right, your product doesn't shake too much. And they've seen this so many times, right? How the UPS person, FedEx person, they're all, the FedEx delivery person and the UPS delivery person, they're all in a hurry and they want to just drop the box and, take off, right? Because they got to make the next delivery. So that's how, everyone is going so fast. And imagine, right, the same thing happens to the trailer as well. It's just much larger box with wheels. And, it gets dragged all over the country, right? I mean, and obviously some states have fantastic roads and some states in some regions, the roads are really bad. So when you drive your truck trailer through those roads, I mean, obviously, right, I mean, it's a much larger box and with which, wheels and the torque and the, RPMs are all very high. And think of all the G forces that act on these pallets, right? So that's why it's super important to secure those pallets, especially when those products are very heavy and very, obviously, right? I mean, one of the best practices that we talked about is using airbags, right? I mean, you cannot, use an airbag for a really heavy product, for example, right? I mean, just for example reasons, I'll use a brick as an example. When you have brick, then or something similar that's a heavy, and this we have seen that a lot in the heavy equipment manufacturing industry. They make some really heavy, robust product out of steel and heavy metals and things like that, right? So when you secure, it makes ton of sense to use load bars, right? The load bars are pretty solid, and you can, and that's why these trailers, if you see, they have those frames along the way to, to use those load bars and secure those load bars. And you can even fasten those load bars on those frames from the trailers, right? So that's what this is. So it kind of looks like this. So let's say this is our, trailer, right? I mean, obviously, I'm doing all a 2D view here, right? I mean, this is like what? I mean, 8 feet or 10 feet. This is a 53, foot, trailer. That's what this is. And you got I think what, 8 feet to 10 feet. And this one is 12 feet, I think, right? 12 feet. I mean, it's all standard. So I'm not, I might be not perfectly accurate in dimensions, but that's what it is. And this is the dimension of a dog door. And, these guys pull and I'm loading my pallets, right? I mean, I'm loading, usually it's two pallets when I load. And if my boxes or my equipment that I'm, fast loading is pretty heavy, right? This is, and this is usually indicated by the class of the item, and this happens a lot when the, transportation manager is asking the freight brokerage to provide a quote for, hey, what is the transportation cost, and the class is a very important term. They use the class to define, how heavy it is, right? So that's what this is. So here, here we just use a simple, example, a double stack pallet, So they have all this heavy stuff. These are the boxes, and I'm only doing 2D here, right? These are the boxes, and now, right? Imagine, and I know these trailers have those frames, and if you pay attention, it's kind of each side, and then there is one more inside, right? Like that, they have those frames, right? You can see it. The next time when you observe the inside of a trailer, make sure to pay attention. So what you can do is you can mount these load bars. You can mount these load bars pretty tightly and even fasten them, right? Fasten them, and these do a really good job, especially for a heavy item. These load bars do a great job, in holding those pallets and preventing them from tipping and falling over, right? This is what it is. So this is what it looks like. And sometimes there are bars you can even, mount it here as well, right? I mean, this is fastened. So, these are the load bars that I'm talking about. This is the load bar, and these are very effective in making sure the pallets don't trip and fall over. And I mean, it takes some extra, few minutes to install it, but when you install it, it's super tight and it's super good. And there are, I think there are many, I go to Modex trade shows, all the time, and I know I see so many different vendors, and they have their own specifications and things like that. So you can talk to them and get the one that works really well for you. Whatever industry that you're specializing in. And there are so many 3PLs, right? We've seen that specializes in the beverage business, specializes in the healthcare business, specializes in the paper business, right? So this is something to think about. These load bars are very effective. They work really well, but choose the right ones based on the class of the product that you ship or transport. And it takes few extra minutes to install. And then, of course, right, once you do all this, take photos of the a shipment load before it leaves and upload that to the load proof and share that with your supply chain partner, saying that, hey, we did our job right, and look at how beautifully we have applied these load bars to make sure that the load is fully secure, right? So that's another best practice that will be very useful. Find the right load bar vendor for you and do that. And there are many different vendors. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and let us know what you think. Thank you.